If you are home shopping and come across a home for sale at an auction website, or if you are thinking of selling a home through an auction, there's some requirements and conditions that are quite different from a traditional sale. Before going that route, you really need to understand what you're getting into. And good news, I'm going to go over all that, so stay tuned. I'm Janet Classy. This is my husband, Paul, and we are realtors here in the Eastern Panhandle. We do a video every week on buying and selling. So if you could subscribe and click on the little bell, you'll know when a new video comes out. The one thing I like about auctions is that most of them are transparent. You'll be able to see the other bids and where you are on that list, if you're the highest or not. And theoretically, bidding against other bidders should produce the highest price the market will bear. That part should benefit buyers because in a traditional sale, you don't know if you bid too much or too little. That's the benefit of an auction. But there are some drawbacks. The biggest one is the requirement for a non-refundable earnest money deposit from the buyer. And that's part of most auction sales. And it's going to knock out quite a few buyers, especially if it's a large amount. One of my clients, a seller, had an agreement to sell their house via auction. The auctioneer's listing required a non-refundable $10,000 deposit from any buyer that wanted to buy that house. So buyers didn't exactly line up the driveway for that one. They got one offer that was way below. And it took a while for the sellers to get out of that agreement. So then the sellers called us and we listed it on the MLS and the house sold in a few days. That non-refundable deposit requirement pretty much nullified any benefit you'd see from the transparency. Another requirement is that there is no financing contingency. So if you are getting a loan, you'd still be able to put a contract on the house, but you won't be able to get out of it, out of the contract, if for some reason the financing falls through. So if that happens, you'd lose the house and your earnest money deposit. Also, most auction contracts specify a closing deadline. So if closing is delayed, which is pretty common, then you could lose the house and your earnest money deposit. In this case, if you do decide to pursue an auction sale and are getting financing, you'd want to check with your lenders and make sure that the loan is solid and that he can get it done within the time frame specified in the contract. Here's something else. Most homes sold at auction do not have a home inspection contingency of any kind. So, in order to assure yourself that there's no major problems, you'd need to inspect the home before putting in an offer. If you get the inspection after you put in a contract and then discover something you can't live with, again, you'd lose your deposit. Sellers are supposed to disclose problems they know about, but usually buyers still want to get an inspection with an opt-out condition. That's usually not an option in an auction sale. Another thing to be aware of is to be sure there is clear title being conveyed. So always do a thorough title search to make sure there are no liens that will convey with the property. There are two types of auctions, an absolute and reserve. Absolute means the property is selling, regardless of price, to the highest bidder, with no limiting conditions. It's also referred to as no minimum, no reserve. Reserve means the seller has the right to put a reserve or bottom dollar on the amount the property will sell for. Lots of buyers believe that buying a home at auction is how to get a good deal. And that's true in a lot of cases. Often foreclosures or bankruptcies are sold through auctions. But not always. Sometimes the homeowner will go that route for an inherited property or if they want something really uncomplicated. It is easier on the seller. But the lack of any contingencies reduces the number of buyers that would otherwise be interested in the home. From what I've seen, investors or flippers or contractors, people familiar with homes and the housing market and are paying cash, end up buying homes at auction. If you are a first-time home buyer or not too familiar with the process, then it's especially important to educate yourself on what's involved when you buy a home at an auction. And there's usually a link on the auction website disclosing the terms for the sale of any property they have listed. If not, then check with the agent before proceeding with an offer. Okay, I hope this was helpful. If you are home shopping in the Eastern Panhandle, check out our website, meetmeinthepanhandle.com. There's lots of information on there about this area, and also a search function for homes that are for sale in the area. Okay, thanks again, and I'll see you next week. Bye.